Hello everyone, and to those of you who are new, welcome. And if you're curious as to what I do on this channel, I share spiritual Native American teachings combined with my life wisdom in hopes to inspire you to go forward on your spiritual practices and improve the overall quality of your life. And recently I've been thinking a lot about the future, as I'm sure all of us do. And what does it mean to be a warrior for the future? Amongst many tribes, there's a saying, when you make a decision, you think about the generations 7 beyond 7 beyond 7. And what this means is that you understand that what you do and what you say will not only impact your future, but the echoes of that go way beyond your own lifetime to those generations whom we will never get to see. So with that, one of the ways that you can begin to be a warrior for the future is being very mindful of how you use your word and your actions. What energy and thought forms are you using? And when you sit at and look at it, it forms your worldview. And with that, the actions you take. And in turn, what this does is that this influences how people will respond to you, and ultimately, from a karmic standpoint, what the universe mirrors back to you. So this is a good way of being able to gauge, do I need to make a shift? Do I need to make an adjustment? Where if what's being mirrored back to you constantly is, hardships, if it feels like negativity constantly, and you just can't seem to escape, then sit back and say, what part of this is sometimes life does bring hardships and you have to move through it. But ultimately, how do you choose to move through it? And in turn, while you're doing this, how does it affect those whose lives you're touching as you do? And those are part of the echoes, the ripples that we talk about. And indeed, we have a responsibility to the future, not only our own, but to all of our relations, which means beyond the human beings. So with this, I'd just like to share some ideas that I would like for you to consider, that we have 3 ways that we can impact the future immediately and in turn for what comes. And one of the ways is that the ability to shape the future. And I said, well, of course, yeah, it's kind of like what we're talking about. But let me be more precise. So in my opinion, there is not really a problem with science and technology when it's used responsibly. So the biggest current thing that's hitting right now is artificial intelligence, or AI. And it's not the artificial intelligence that's the problem. It's how it is being employed. If it is being employed in a manner that is agreeable to the artists or the people who are using it, and with full consent, and we're teaching that artificial intelligence the ways of being, I know it's going to sound odd, but I'm going to say, even if it's the right questions to ask, to not override the rights of any, then that artificial intelligence can actually enhance our lives. It can enhance the lives of others that are behind us. But if we don't speak up now in the way that it's being employed to just step on rights, to create some cheap consumer music or art with no compensation to anyone, save a company who's faceless, who just wants to increase the bottom line, then what do we leave behind us? Not only for us to deal with now, but this can become an octopus, a crazy octopus that, is not only just wrapping its tentacles around us, but can absolutely drown those who are behind us. So we have a responsibility to speak up. And that includes, because one touches with the other, is with the companies where we interact with, whether it's a fashion, whether it's food, whatever it is that you are using right now, is taking the time to research the parent companies. What does a parent company do? Making them accountable for fair wages, making them accountable for fair trade, accountable for helping to preserve and respect our Earth Mother and all of our relations. And by the same token, being very outspoken to applaud and support in a way that's tangible those companies, people, artists that are being very obvious, very active, and acting in a way that is responsible and ethical to us, and in turn with the idea that they're already thinking ahead. So the idea of shaping the future is when you're making choices to advance to your own dreams, pay attention to what you are employing. And if you're interacting with others, that their motivations be such that they also are thinking about being ethical and thinking about those that come behind us. Sometimes you just plain have to defend the future, and your own and those who are coming behind us. So, say, for example, be a champion for rights, whether it be for human rights, animal rights, the rights to preserve our environment. They are in desperate need of champions right now. So by whichever way, if you were to write, to volunteer, to be active in some way, this sends a loud message. And this is something that we need to do together as a community, as a society. One voice does make a difference. Use your voice to inspire others. Join your voice with others. Pick a soapbox, pick a cause, and go forward and be that champion. Help to defend the future. But again, I caution you to be aware of how it's done. In other words, don't become such a champion that it begins to, literally, you just become that which you despise, or you're empowering another tyrant. No. Let things go forward. Remember, we talked about the energy, the thought forms that you send forward into the future, reflecting back in the near future, and the echoes going forward. So if you are being an activist in some way for the rights, whether it be human rights, animal rights, the rights of nature, or so on, that it be done in a way that is responsible, in a way that is effective, in a way that is respectful to you and to those that are around you. As you act, you are, when you're defending the future, then realize that as you do it, you're teaching others how to do that as well. So let it be done with reason, let it be done with compassion, and let it be done in steps that are manageable for all, not too slow, and not these big leaps, because again, change, this calls for change, necessary change. But change is always difficult. It doesn't matter if it's for good change or bad change, but be consistent. And the third way that you can be a warrior for the future is to nurture the future. So we talked about shaping the future, we talked about defending the future, but you have to nurture the future. So one example that I can give to you definitely is, say, right now, especially, it has been absolutely atrocious that there was one point in this year where literally a third of the world was on fire. So many old forests, so much was lost. So the need to reforest, the planting of the trees that needs to happen. But what a lot of people don't know is that when they contribute to the planting of these trees, that there's not always something in place to be able to make sure that these trees actually survive. So there's the planting of all these saplings, and a huge amount of them die because there is no one to continue to nurture these trees, to take care of them so they can begin to survive from being these little bushy saplings to young trees to so forth. So as you begin to nurture the future, think about not only picking a cause, and whether it be the clearing of plastics in the ocean, to putting things in place or participating so that it continues towards creating a better tomorrow. So one thing that I would say to you that everybody can do, and it's not that hard, is before you buy another thing, for your necessities aside, all right, think about the end of life, whether it be clothing, whether it be an electronic, something that you purchase that at one point you're going to discard, everything wears out. Think about, where is it going to go afterwards? Is it going to be a case where you're going to gently use your clothing and to donate it? Say for me, case in point, where the towels and things that I use will wear out. Well, I already have 3 animal charities that I'm going to be donating these blankets, these bed sheets, all these things that they desperately need. Different electronics where if they're not worn out, I have different organizations that I contribute to, old phones that the memory can be erased and given to those who are in dire need, whether they're trying to escape from abuse of some sort, where they can use these phones. So think about, whether it be furniture, whatever these items are, there's going to be a point where you're going to move forward, or you won't be here. You might move to another part of the world. Whatever it is, it wears out. But if you think now before you bring it into your home, where is it going to go, so it doesn't become another pile of junk that is littering our world, that you give it another life. This is another way that you can nurture the future. And so with this, my friends, hopefully I've given you some food for thought. Again, that we have the power to shape the future. We have the power to defend the future and a way of nurturing the future. And if you do one or all of these, in whatever capacity, it makes a tremendous, tremendous change. It makes a tremendous difference. Because what you consider to be a small action becomes a huge wave. If we do this together, we create a tsunami of positive change. And so realize that within the Good Red Road, your future, your personal future, and the future of those yet to come behind us, ones that we will never meet, are intertwined together within the dream weave of reality, of existence. Walk in beauty so that they will also have that opportunity. And if it's a case to say, well, walking in beauty, how do I do that? I have another video to that effect. And I would love to hear in your comments, how do you, right now, what is it that you do to be a warrior for the future? And I would love to hear from you. Any thoughts and comments are always welcome. And again, to those of you who like, share, and subscribe, it is such a big help for the future of these videos and in turn to spread the positivity. So until we have the chance and the pleasure to be with each other again, Wanishi and bright blessings.